So, what's the deal with Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime characters not reading card effects? This has been a long time coming, but I was making a video recently. It was the duel between Yugioh, Rory, and Serena, and in the middle of that duel, the opponent gets out a monster called Parasite Queen. Parasite Queen has been imbued with the effect that it is unaffected by all monster effects. Yugioh doesn't know this, so he activates the effect of his Phantom Knight to negate the effect of that monster, and they reveal it's unaffected. Why did Yugioh make this misplay? Well, it's because he didn't know what Parasite Queen could do. But why not? Throughout the entirety of the Yu-Gi-Oh series, this has kind of been an accepted thing that, oh, you just don't know what your opponents do. This all stemmed from Duel Monsters, the original series. And back then, it made sense. There wasn't a lot of effect monsters, and kind of the way that game played was a lot of... There wasn't really any rules, so you could kind of do whatever you want. Cards could do whatever the plot kind of needed, so it kind of made sense that you don't know what a card really does. However, the more modern the Yu-Gi-Oh series, the more I have to ask, why don't opponents just check what their opponent's card can do before doing anything? And so that is the question for today, and I'm going to try and answer it in this video. And to start with, I think we first need to establish what the official stance is on opponents' cards' effects in the real world. Well, in reality, in real world tournaments, basically, card effects are classed as public knowledge. What's public knowledge? It just means that you're allowed to ask your opponent, hey, what does that do? Hey, how many cards have you got in your graveyard? How many cards you got in your hand? How many cards you got left in your deck? Your opponent has to answer honestly. And if you ask, can I see a card in your graveyard? You're allowed to pick it up, look at it, and then put it straight back to exactly where you picked it up from. There are a bunch of other things that fall into public knowledge, but the big one that we're focusing on today is opponent's cards effects. If your opponent asks, hey, can I read that card effect? You have to let them. At any point in the duel, it could be in the middle of an attack, it could be wherever. If a card is face up anywhere in the duel, face up in the extra monster zone, revealed to you from the hand, face up in the monster zone, face up in the spell and trap zone, face up in the graveyard, you're allowed to look at it. So with that in mind, you can kind of imagine why they don't want to implement that ruling in the anime. Because you'd be the big bad villain of the series doing his big ultimate boss monster. He attacks and the opponent's like, or just like Yugi, he's like, oh, hang on a second. Can I just read your card? It's like, oh yeah, sure, man. Walks all the way over to the other side of the arena. There's my card. Okay, all right, there you go. Put it back, walk all the way back. Hit response? No, I've got nothing. He's like, oh, okay, I attack you directly. I think that would be kind of funny, but I can understand why they wouldn't want to implement that. So this moves us nicely into what I think are the two best answers to this question. One, public knowledge in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime doesn't exist. If this is the case, it makes sense, because at the end of the day, it's a show. We need spectacle, we need grandiose, we need surprises, we need twists and turns. So when I attack with my monster and my opponent's like, you fool! My monster can't be destroyed by battle. Yugi reacts, Nani? It makes sense. I can completely understand why they would want to withhold supreme awesome effects. However, the downside to this means that players, well, they might have an out to a situation. My opponent has a monster that can't be destroyed by battle. I have a face-down compulsory evacuation device, so it could get rid of it. But I'm not aware of this effect, so I try to do something else. I waste the card, they reveal what the monster's effect is, and I'm like, oh, I could have done that, but oh well, it's never mind, I guess. It's just one of those things. And that isn't a huge deal, because the way that the Yu-Gi-Oh series tends to work is they sort of structure the story to revolve around not knowing cards, and then the big reveal happens. And the way that reveals normally happen in the anime is you don't know what a card can do, you either find out the hard way by doing something, the villain reveals it in a dramatic way, or possibly sometimes you just have like knowledge of the card from a previous duel. That's 5-Guard Dragon. I know that card. It can't be destroyed by anything apart from light monsters. That kind of thing. However, this creates a problem. If the opponent doesn't need to reveal what a card effect is, why do they? Well, yet again, this is for us, the audience. But if you want to put it in universe logic, it's just them being cocky, most likely. My card is unaffected by normal spell cards, for example. If I just don't tell my opponent that, they can keep wasting their dark holes, their regekis, their fissures, whatever they want to do, and I just don't have to reveal that to them. However, obviously the reason they have to do this is for us, the audience. If we know the limitations and the strengths of a monster, then we know what the main character has to do to get over it, or the efforts that they have made to get over a very difficult situation to get out of. So that's why they do it. Yet again, it's just for us, the audience. So everything we're leading up to, I think, kind of makes sense. It's just for the show, really, isn't it? It makes sense, and at the end of the day, you can't really blame them for doing this. So I think we've solved this. Basically, Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime characters, they just don't know the opponent's card effects until they find out the hard way, they are told by the opponent, or they just prior know the card in advance. Sorted. Except for one little thing. I was told in my Yugioh duel analysis that when the Phantom Knight tried to negate the Parasite Queen, basically, that he just couldn't check opponent's card effects. And it was revealed to me, yes, they can. During episode 108 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 anime, Yuya is dueling against the Tyler sisters. They use a Gladiator Beast deck. It's pretty cool, but regardless of the point. At some point in the duel, the Tyler sisters activate the continuous spell, Quiet Life, known as Slow Life in the Japanese. Immediately after they activate this card, they reveal what its effect is. You can either normal summon during a turn, or you can special summon. You can't do both. Yuya is taken aback by this. No way, there's no such thing, no way can a card do this. So he pulls up his duel disc, clicks on the card, and reads its effect, and is like, oh damn, yeah, that's right, I guess I can't do both. A cute little moment in the anime, for sure, but it brings up so many problems. This then means, at the very least, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 series, you can check cards whenever. So, why don't they? I'm gonna have to jump through some serious hoops for this one, but one of the big things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 is it's all about parkour. It's all about moving around the field. If someone tries to attack you and you run away, like actually run away from the monster, for as long as you can avoid that attack, you can delay the attack kind of thing. So it'll give you time to think of a response that you might want to do. It'll give you time to get to an action card. And I guess by that logic as well, you can also check card effects with the duel disc if you really want to. That never happens throughout the series, but I guess that would make sense. Maybe the opponent is under no obligation to wait for an opponent to check card effects. So while they're popping off, if you're reading effects, you might miss things. Your opponent might ready up an attack while you're trying to read something. So that's the only in-universe explanation I have for that. I think it makes sense for dual monsters, GX, 5Ds, even 5Ds, probably not. If anyone's got any evidence of people checking card effects in 5Ds or Zexal, let me know in the comment section below with like an episode or just like where you've seen it from. But dual monster and GX makes sense because they don't have a digital screen. It's just physical cards. I can't read that card from all over there. If you're playing against some evil person, I imagine you don't want to get up close and personal with them, so that kind of makes sense. But with everything else, I don't know. Now, it'd be amiss if I don't mention the elephant in the room, by the way. In the real world as well, people don't read cards. Shocking to know. You have that available to you at all times. You can always read what your opponent does, but a lot of the time, people don't. It's the irony. It's a little bit of a meme. You didn't read. Even me, when I'm playing on Master Duel sometimes. Ah, well done. Hold the phone. He didn't read. I was like, this man has got me. Gone, 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 gone. Chose monsters. That's why we read, chat. Be better. Why, when we have all the benefits in the world, why wouldn't we just check what opponent's cards can do so we don't whiff and make mistakes? Well, I think there's two reasons for this from me personally. One, cards have a lot of effects nowadays. It's a lot of reading. There's like 6 different cards on the field. You have to read every single one to know what everything is doing. And there's a timer ticking down in the corner. So sometimes you just think, yeah, I'll be fine. And then you're wrong. Or the alternative is, you just might not know. You might not know a card has an effect that is currently doing something on the field. A card might be equipped with something because so much stuff is going on. So you might miss it and just think, yeah, I'm fine. only to be revealed, oh, there was a card in the graveyard that keeps that monster alive. Ah, dear. That's my take on it anyway. For the real world, I am just as guilty sometimes of not reading card effects and whiffing, so maybe main characters are also a bit too lazy to read card effects. They just can't be bothered. That's one answer anyway. So I don't think there's any more reason to waffle on anymore. I think we've kind of established what we needed to establish. Why don't anime characters in the Yu-Gi-Oh series read their opponent's card effects? Well, a couple reasons. It is for our benefit, for suspense and dramatic tension, and despite the fact apparently, as of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, you can check card effects, sometimes they just don't. Yet again, probably for dramatic effect. I hope you all enjoyed the video regardless, and thank you all for watching. Catch you later, everyone.